We're going to look at it. So foul there on Indiana, on Hull there. But then that is a technical.
That is a technical. Dead ball, contact technical.
It's a little surprising to see so many of these happen in one game because...
Oh, and I don't like the way Lexie Hull...
It started with blood on the court and one of the most outrageous referee calls of the season. The last time Lexie Hull faced Kayla McBride, she was left bleeding from a dirty elbow and somehow penalized for it. But in their rematch, Hull didn't just get even, she delivered a moment of cold-blooded humiliation that left the crowd roaring and the internet speechless. This wasn't just a highlight, it was a deeply personal form of payback that symbolized the Indiana Fever's shocking rise from the ashes.
Kayla McBride this time around? Last time these two shared the court, McBride's elbow smashed Hull in the face, and the refs somehow penalized Hull.
But before the revenge, there was the collapse. The Indiana Fever season was supposed to be a triumphant return to relevance, but it quickly turned into a medical catastrophe. The team's rotation wasn't just hit with injuries, it was completely decapitated. Game after game, players dropped to the injury report. Caitlin Clark gone with a groin injury. Sophie Cunningham sidelined by an MCL tear. Sydney Colson tore her ACL. That's not a list of injuries. That's a starting five sitting in street clothes, leaving the Fever with one of the thinnest rosters imaginable.
Final score, Fever 83, Lynx 72. Indiana ends the regular season with an exclamation point. Fever have won 3 in a row.
Just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, the final blow was delivered. The announcement dropped like a bomb. Caitlin Clark's rookie season was officially over. The groin injury, first labeled as nagging, had become permanent. The news hit like a shockwave, crushing the spirit of the team and its entire fan base. She was the engine, the energy, and the face of their resurgence. Her season ended not with a playoff debut, but with a sterile press release.
I know a lot of people will talk about Nafisa not playing, but I think they're really good without her. You know, they're just a really great basketball team. So I think it was a big win for us because they set the bar high standard wise. We know what to expect when it comes to Minnesota Lynx, and so I think going into the playoffs, it was big for us because being able to know guarding Courtney Williams, knowing that her thing is a pull up, knowing that now instead of not knowing that, it's big for us because we give ourselves a chance, and if they are the standard, we get to see where we are.
With that news, the media sharks began to circle. National analysts and commentators officially declared the Fever dead in the water. The narrative was set. Without their generational star, Indiana would inevitably collapse. The chatter shifted from their playoff potential to whether they could even win another game. This widespread dismissal wasn't just noise, it created an us against the world mentality inside the Fever locker room. They heard the doubt, and they were ready to make everyone eat their word.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been impressed with these guys since even the offseason, really, the ones that I was able to work out with in the offseason, is how hard they work. There's a work ethic and there's a work style. And to approach everything in the same way, to be so energetic, enthusiastic, and dedicated every day. And I felt that way in training camp too. There weren't any days where I had to bring that out of them. So I think it's the nature of the women that we brought into this organization to continue to just bust their butts and play hard.
With the team's biggest star gone, someone had to carry the unimaginable weight of the offense. That person was Kelsey Mitchell. She didn't just play well, she went on an absolute tear, transforming into a scoring machine. She shattered Temeka Catching's single-season scoring record, averaging over 20 points a night, while every single defense in the league designed their game plan to stop her. While scout reports screamed her name at the top, Mitchell provided the offensive firepower that kept the Fever's heart beating when it should have flatlined.
Kind of all the other things like offensive rebounding that she can do.
Knocked away. Boston comes up with a steal. Here is Mitchell veering through the paint and lays it in.
She's so quick, and especially when she gets out in the open floor, you'll see her coming down. The quick left to right crossover just gets by. I thought she was sprinting. I didn't think she was lumbering.
It was a lumber sprint.
Up for the big girl.
Mitchell like a blur. That's a sprint.
While Mitchell handled the offense, Aaliyah Boston became the team's unmovable anchor. In a season defined by chaos, she provided pure stability. Pulling down more than 8 rebounds a game while scoring a steady 15 points, she was the reason Indiana didn't fall apart. Boston set a new franchise record for single-season rebounds, her ability to body bigger forwards and clear the glass becoming the team's insurance policy. Whatever mess the lineups turned into, Boston was the stabilizer in the middle.
Only 8 teams have ever done that. 7 of them went on to win the title. As Boston gets free and lays it in.
She will be on my first team.
Boston in the paint, sneaks through 2 and lays it in.
But it wasn't just the stars. An army of unsung heroes emerged from the shadows. Odyssey Sims brought in on a hardship contract, started playing like a seasoned starter, finishing the Minnesota game with 15 crucial points. Natasha Howard became the ultimate gap filler, doing everything from rebounding to hitting clutch shots when possessions stalled. This wasn't just about filling space, it was about players seizing an opportunity and proving they belonged. Indiana's bench, the same bench people dismissed earlier in the year, became the glue that held everything together.
Fever done with the MVP, okay? Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah. You already know what it is. Dubs in the chat, you already know what it is. Ooh! You already know what it is. Let's go to the playoffs with some momentum, baby.
After losing nearly half their roster, any logical person would assume the Fever would simply fold. But that's not what happened. Instead, they weaponized their own misery, the frustration, the constant roster changes, and the endless disrespect from referees all became fuel. They stopped seeing the injuries as a death sentence and started treating them as a rallying cry. That psychological shift changed the way they played, and it reshaped the way fans viewed them. They weren't just surviving, they were fighting.
Before the playoffs start Sunday tonight, it's regular season game 44 of 44 for the Fever as they host the WNBA's best team in 2025.
This fight was fueled by a growing sense of injustice, particularly with how they were officiated. The feeling in the locker room and among the fans was that Indiana simply didn't get fair treatment. The prime example was the original incident with Lexie Hull, to see her take a brutal elbow to the face, only for the refs to unbelievably hit her with the technical foul, was more than just a bad call. It was a slap in the face that confirmed every suspicion about the league's bias. That moment became a symbol of the disrespect they faced all season.
It'll be Alana Smith jumping it up against Aaliyah Boston. The ball is tipped, and it's time to hoop at Indy.
A 10-0 run to start this game for Indiana, and Minnesota wants a timeout.
Powers up top, tees it up, 3. It's good! Energy!
Kicks it out, Powers. You bet! Back-to-back threes from Ariel Powers.
The Fever double up the Lynx in the first quarter. It's Indiana 28, Minnesota 14.
That simmering anger set the stage for the ultimate test, a primetime matchup against the Minnesota Lynx. This wasn't just another game on the schedule, this was a war for respect. The Lynx were sitting at the top of the league standings, seen as the gold standard of the WNBA. For the injury-riddled Fever, this was a David versus Goliath showdown, a chance to prove they weren't just a feel-good story but a legitimate threat.
Indiana is 4 for 4 from three-point range. Mitchell connects on a 3. Sims leaning jumper is good.
Kelsey driving left, puts it in off the backboard.
Will to it for the first half. Indiana shoots 58% from the floor.
But for Lexi Hull, this matchup carried an even heavier weight. The memory of the elbow, the blood, and the baffling technical foul hung in the air. All eyes were locked on her. Would she shy away from guarding McBride, or would she use that humiliation to fuel her performance? This wasn't just another matchup, it was a test of character, and every fan in the building was waiting to see how she would answer the call.
Mitchell, open 3. It's good. You can. Kelsey Mitchell is a hooper.
Passes Dantas left corner 3. Bullseye. Shot clock. Boston left block, makes it in.
The moment of karma came in the second quarter. Hull received the ball at the top of the key, with McBride defending her closely. In a split second, Hull executed a devastating hesitation move, followed by a vicious left-to-right crossover. McBride, completely fooled, lunged desperately. Her balance vanished, her legs tangled, and she crumbled to the hardwood. It was a clean, brutal, and perfectly executed move that left her opponent looking helpless on the floor. The immediate aftershock was electric. The crowd inside the arena exploded into a deafening roar. On the sideline, the Fever bench erupted, with teammates leaping out of their seats in celebration. The clip instantly went viral, flooding social media with captions like "karma" and "revenge." Fans who had been outraged by the previous incident now had a new clip to share, one where Hull wasn't the victim, but the victor who delivered a cold, calculated dose of humiliation.
Fever done! With the MVP, okay? Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah. You already know what it is. Dubs in the chat, you already know what it is. Woo! You already know what it is. Let's go to the playoffs with some momentum, baby.
Here's Mitchell. I think that's a 2. Doesn't go. And now it's McBride getting Hull. Yeah, that one might be a problem. Indiana just taking shots to the face.
But that highlight, as spectacular as it was, wasn't the whole story. The team's performance was a statement of complete dominance. The Fever didn't just win, they dismantled the top team in the league. When Minnesota threatened a comeback in the second half, Aerial Powers buried back-to-back threes that acted as a gut punch, swinging the momentum firmly back to Indiana. This victory wasn't a fluke built on one play. It was a systematic demolition carried out by a team firing on all cylinders.
Tonight for Indiana, but then Bolton gives it right back, and Howard cashes in.
To perform like this, but they have 5 different players almost at all times who can bring the ball up the floor. Usually 4 or 5 were adept at making shots from deep. I mean, you just saw a big there creating her own look as well from Natasha Howard. Career high in terms of her field goal percentage, and you see her here, the little spin to the middle. That's a tough shot.
And through it all, Caitlin Clark was still leading from the shadows. Even in street clothes, she was a force on the sideline, screaming instructions, calling out defensive coverages, and even signaling for timeouts like a seasoned coach. Cameras caught her waving her hands like a traffic cop, directing plays and encouraging her teammates. She earned the nickname Coach Kate, and her fiery presence was a constant reminder that her impact on the team went far beyond the box score.
The Minnesota team is only accustomed to watching all season long. Now, one thing to know. Vegas currently is a 3, but if they win out, they will be the 6.
This win wasn't just another mark in the column, it represented a historic exorcism for the franchise. It secured the Fever's first winning season since 2015, breaking a nearly decade-long curse of false starts, failed rebuilds, and wasted opportunities. 9 years of frustration were washed away in one dominant performance. That kind of milestone isn't about celebrating mediocrity, it's about recognizing that a cultural reset has finally taken hold in Indiana.
One of those players who is messy, and she's on your team, you love her, and if she's on the other team, she's just annoying. Right? She just gets in and rip the ball out of his hands and just end the effort.
In the end, Lexie Hull's moment of redemption was a perfect metaphor for the entire team. She was underestimated, unfairly punished, and left for dead. But she got back up and delivered a blow that no one saw coming. That crossover wasn't just revenge. It was a declaration that the Indiana Fever are no longer the league's underdog. They are fighters, survivors, and they are heading into the playoffs with a dangerous grit that should make every other team in the league very, very nervous.